gotta dance at the beginning. That's how this works. I didn't tell Debbie that this dance was involved. The music makes me all excited, you guys. All right, I'll stop it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Camera. I am your host, Jamie Hain, and I am all about getting you on camera to help you grow your business. But growing your business is so much more than just video. And so the purpose of this show is to bring on guests with expertise in other areas of growing a business. And they will share their expertise beyond the camera. And I'm so excited today for Debbie Pearson. Her business is called Debbie Pearson Coaching. I'm so excited for Debbie to be on the show today. Not only for her topic, which is how do we turn negative self-talk into positive self-love, which is a super important topic to all of us because we all have that negative self-talk that goes on about going on video and showing our face on camera. So the topic is relevant. Plus it's February. It's the month of love. It's like perfect timing to be talking about this stuff. And plus Debbie is, here's the deal. Debbie and I have known each other for what feels like forever. She was in my Facebook group. She took my program, my group coaching program. We worked together one-on-one and we became friends. And now we coach each other. And it's a beautiful friendship that means a tremendous amount to me. So please join me in welcoming Debbie to the show. Yay, Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Introduce yourself so everybody gets to know you a little bit.
Well, first of all, I want to say how much I enjoyed your program. It was like, I thought it was this and it turned out to be all of this. And I was just totally like blown away at how much I learned. And it's been very, very impactful for my business. So I did want to say thank you for that. Most people think of me as like a hostage negotiator because I teach you how to rescue yourself from emotions that could be holding you hostage. And then some people like to think of me as a bomb diffuser because I teach people how to diffuse the emotions that often explode or implode so that you can experience more joy and peace and love and happiness and greater connection, but without all the going off, right? So, that's pretty much it. I just help people with emotions. Mm-hmm.
I love it. And here's, I mean, there are a lot of cool things about you, Debbie. Every time we chat, I learn something new. But I think one of the most fascinating things about you that you have done in your life is that you walk the El Camino. And just, I know you're going to talk about it here in a second, but it's a 500-mile walk.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Which you talk about mind blown. I can't even imagine walking 500 miles. So tell everybody about this journey that you've been on with this walk.
Well, the journey is really that. It is like there's a whole process associated with it. And I'll try to keep it a little narrow because you can go so big with how impactful it is. One of the things is how many lessons you learn while you're on Camino. And then you come home and those same lessons seem to apply in so many ways. One of the things that I learned was to walk your own walk and don't walk others' pace. There's a tendency to do that a lot in life. Oh, they've got more than me, or they've moved ahead further than I have. So we're like running after it. But we all have very special and unique and different like strengths and gifts and talents. And to just the lesson that I learned, don't compare. And I'll talk a little bit more about what happened and how I got to that lesson, but to walk your own walk. So the story is, you know, we have a tendency to grow up in a world where we're told, I go A equals plus B plus C plus D plus E equals happiness. And it's kind of like you go to school and you can pick whatever random ABC thing, but it's like you go to school, you get married, you have a baby, you buy the house, the picket fence, blah, blah, equals happiness. But we realize in short order, that's not true. While we're busy, we may not notice it, but when the calm starts, it's like, not really fulfilled that much anymore, or fulfilled for a while, but then things change, and then I'm not fulfilled anymore. So I had the way that I found out about Camino was, Everything on the outside of my life looked great. I was working for a 4-star general. I had all the financial securities, a nice house, nice car, nice package for like vacation and savings and all that stuff. Everything seemed really, really wonderful on the outside. But on the inside, I was miserable. And I kept thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. I'm just not happy, like something's missing. And so I did something. I'm like, okay, I got to do something. I had all this time that I was going to lose if I didn't use it. So I started Googling vacations with purpose. I had no idea what was going to come up. All I knew was I wanted to go somewhere and do something that had some meaning and not just maybe, I don't know, go somewhere and eat too much or drink too much or I don't know, just do. I wanted it to like, am I going to dig a well? Am I going to help build houses? You know, what am I going to do? And when I came across the Camino, it was like, boom, I knew I had to do it. It called me. I had to do it. And so I decided I was going to do it, and I had to go through the training and, you know, what am I going to use for equipment and the, you know, all the things. And then finally the day came and it was time to go. And I got on the plane, and I'm just telling this to you, you can go with other people. I chose to go alone. When you get there, there are other people walking, so you're never really alone. But I got there and I was like, what do I do? And I'm trying to figure it out. And then you find somebody, you buddy up, and you start walking together. And I found out that other people walk really, really fast, really, really fast. So much so that I tried keeping up with them. And I did this day after day with different people for like over 10 days. And I don't know if it was a fear of missing out on something or a fear that weird, like, oh, if they leave me behind, I'll die thing. I don't know what it was. But there was a fear, and I felt I needed to keep up. In doing that, I got an injury. So I had to stay put. And I had to watch the next morning as all the people that I knew were leaving me behind and walking away. And all that negative self-talk started coming in. Oh my God, what are you doing? Why'd you come here by yourself? You're too old for this. You didn't train enough. Just tons of thoughts. Maybe you should go home. I didn't really know what to do. And I was berating myself a lot because it's like, I'm not that young anymore. I think I was 56 at the time. Not that that's old, but, you know, to walk 100 miles, it was a thing. But the lesson I was learning was, at the time, I wasn't hearing it, but all of a sudden, I did later. So here I am in this question, what do I do? And I saw somebody, at least it looked like her, that I had seen 4 or 5 days earlier, just in a lunch line or something. And when I saw her, she was doing like a little limp, like she was also injured. And I was injured. And I like felt that kinship right there, you know. And she got closer, and I'm like, I'm waving, and I'm limping over to her, and she's shuffling over to me. And we reached each other, and we just held each other and cried. It was a moment. It was like, I don't know. I found somebody. I felt like life wasn't going to be so horrible because I had been there for 2 days by myself. So we had this really long talk about what should we do, and should we keep going? Should we go home? What should we do? Well, we decided we're going to walk our own pace. It's going to be slow. We can't walk fast, but that's okay. We're just going to do our thing. And we knew it was going to be tough to watch all these people pass us by, you know, but we decided it was okay. We were just going to do our thing. You know, everybody can kind of walk the Camino their way, and they're moving fast. But for us, it was slower, but we learned something by going slower. So we knew that we were going to be walking that same number of miles, which is like, I don't know, between 8 and 14 in a day. We knew that our time was going to be longer. We walked like that for like 10 days. And as we walked, we healed. And we healed physically, and we started healing mentally or emotionally. It was like we were getting kind of back to normal in the walk, but our brains had a shift. So the slower walking allowed us to actually enjoy the journey more. We were able to take breaks when we wanted to because we weren't keeping up with everybody. We got better photos. We would find a rhythm that worked, and it was our rhythm and not going the pace of other people. We didn't realize it, but we stopped the negative talk. We stopped berating ourselves for our injuries or not paying attention and were we not enough, and we began to appreciate where we were and how we kept going and how even though it might have been different, we were still getting to our destination. So the words we began to say to each other became more kind and loving and compassionate. And it was like, it's okay if we go slow. We're like, yeah, there's no speed limit, right? It's like, well, just because we don't go as fast as them, we have the right to go the speed we want to go. Yeah, right. So we're like being each other's cheerleader, It's okay if they pass us up. What's the rush anyway, right? So we kept going. We were walking our Camino and not theirs. So there was this great emotional change that occurred. And by just reframing the way that we spoke to ourselves, we learned this incredibly valuable lesson. And it's how I speak to myself is a choice. And we learn that by knowing that we had that negative talk and we chose to turn it into a more positive self-talk. So I'll pause now, Jamie.
Listen, I've heard that story. I don't know how many times I've heard that story. Every time I'm on the edge of my seat. I love it. I hear something new every time you tell it. It is so, there's some sad moments, there's some joyful moments, and there's a lesson in there. And so first, thank you for sharing it with everybody. It's so powerful. Lots of comments about it's on my bucket list. I want to do it. And cheering you on. I love this one. You do it your way. This is so powerful.
Awesome.
So question for you. When you start talking about negative self-talk, how does one even recognize that you're in this pattern of negative self-talk?
Good question. That is a challenge. Most of the time, we don't notice. Most of the time, we're just in what is literally a habitual pattern processing itself. And it could be a pattern or a habit or a behavior, but it's processing itself in our, I'm going to use the word unconscious, but it could be the subconscious, the semi-conscious, any of that. But I'm just going to use the word unconscious because it's not in the forefront. It's somewhere back there. And we do this because it's not a natural thing to do, but in our society, it is a normal thing to do where we judge outside of ourselves. But we also turn that judgment outside to the inside. So if we were talked to in a way such as, what's wrong with you? Can't you be like your brother or sister? Or how come it takes you so long? Or you spilt the milk again? Or we have these, the tone, the sound, the words that are spoken, they get stuck in our brain. And we bring those with us. And then we start turning it around and we say it to ourselves. What's the matter with you? Why can't you be just like so-and-so? Oh, I'm not as smart as that person. That person, oh, look at me, I spilled the milk again. And it's like this constant chatter going on. And it comes from a place of fear. And the way that we can begin to really notice it is by literally starting to pay attention to what we think about. And I ask people, do you think about what you think about? Which sounds a little bit weird, but as you begin to think about what you were just thinking about, it begins to make more sense. Yes.
I love that. So I want to ask everybody, and I'm not going to put anybody on the spot here because this is not about, sharing your deepest, darkest secrets, but show of hands, who has done this negative self-talk? Who has had it happen either at some point in their life, happens regularly, happens now? Just yes or no, I do the negative self-talk. I would love to see some engagement from those of you that are watching with us live. I know I do it. I mean, I think we all do it. Let me show some of the, you're all flooding in. All right, let me put some of them on screen here. Okay, so we've got 4 years. We've got, oh yeah, long abbreviated, yeah. and a lot of definite yeses. So we're not alone in this, right, Debbie? I mean, it's common.
Not at all. Not at all.
So how do we change it? How do we stop it? How do we shift it?
So one of the things that we can do is like referring to the story, right? Referring to my story about being on Camino. Initially, I wasn't speaking to myself in a kind, compassionate way. Initially, it was from a place of fear. What's wrong with you? You're not doing it right. You didn't strength train enough or whatever. So there was an ugly tone, a nastiness to it, to where it was like I'm telling myself off and I'm blaming myself for everything. And it was like having thoughts like, if I thought that another person knew more about the walk, the Camino, than I did, it was like, you're only a real pilgrim if you do this. I was like, oh my God, I'm less than whatever, because I was having that thought. So we have to think about, how am I reacting to what somebody else does? If I felt I needed to prove myself, that imposter syndrome would kick in, like, oh, I don't really belong here, right? They're better than I am, right? So recognizing this as I'm learning all the walking with my friend for these 10 days. If I might not like what a person was saying, say I wasn't walking with my friend, I learned later on walking with other people that they were saying things, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to hear them. And I began a resistance, and I could feel that resistance coming up. And it was like, the more I would resist, the harder they would try to get me to hear them. So that was a big, big challenge. And, in business, and I will share, like in business, these same things can happen. If our self-talk is like, oh God, that other person knows more than I do, it produces anxiety, and we're not really in the moment, and we're judging ourselves based on what somebody else knows. In other words, we're not walking our walk or our pace. If if I feel like I need to prove myself to the other person, then there may be that imposter syndrome showing up. And again, that's anxiety producing, and it can feel, even though I may be trying to be very confident and present myself, the other person still feels the inauthenticity of that. And so we don't want that to happen either. And so if someone is being a particular way with you, like in your work, your job, your coaching business or whatever, and you're like, oh, I hate this client, I don't want to be with this client or whatever, and you're resisting them, they're going to be trying to get around that because they want you to hear them. That's the biggest thing. People want to be seen, heard, and valued. And that resistance that we put up, it seems like it's almost their challenge to get around that wall. And so the activity we're going to do here shortly is going to show us how to shift out of that. It's easier to show than it is for me to explain it. So, yeah, I think this might be a good time for us to actually go into the activity so we can, yeah.
I love that you connected this to business, because I know I was sitting here thinking, okay, here we are talking about self-love, and that's so important for us as people, but it's important to your business as well. And so just hearing you talk through that, I was like, oh my gosh, and I hadn't even thought of some of that, right? And I love this comment that Stephanie had about being more conscious of the negative self-talk. And that's what you're saying, is that's the first step, just being aware that you do it. But now we're aware of that impact and what it has on us as a coach, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, and the impact that it has on our people. It's just one more reason to say, we gotta nip this in the bud, and we gotta turn it around, right?
Yeah, our negative self-talk, even though it's in our head, that it still permeates outside of us, right? And people sense it, even if they can't quite figure out what it is. They experience like, that step back away from, and they may not want to do business with you because of that. But they can't even verbalize what that is.
Right.
Like, I don't know, I just don't like the way she is, or they might say her energy, and that it is that when we're conscious of how we're talking to ourselves. Something happens. I'm going to show everybody what it is. And it's a tool, right? But when we practice a tool, any tool, it becomes a skill, and you keep practicing it, you can master it. And I will tell you, when I first started doing it, a lot of negative self-talk coming at me, but I kept practicing it and just going back to it every day. And I'll talk about the 4 ways. But within about 6 months, I don't even know if I say anything mean or rude or ugly to myself anymore. I mean, it may begin, but even if it begins, I already know, I'm not going to go there, but it's because I know what to do so that I don't go there.
Stephanie Thompson, I don't know if she's on, but she's somebody that we both work with, and she and love to pieces. We love you, Stephanie. Yeah. She says that she never even hears that voice anymore. Like it's gone, right? And so what you're describing is you can quiet it. It can be less often. And then over time, it can just not even, I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful, you guys? Wouldn't you love that? I would love that, to not have that in my head. Okay. Now on the activity, is there anything, do you need to introduce something, or you want me to you tell me when you want me to put this up?
Let's just put it up and go with it.
Okay. Oh,
okay. I can't see it on yours, so I'm going to bring it up on mine just so I can talk intelligently with it.
Okay, sorry. Now we have it all messed up. Okay. I didn't even know I could do this. How cool is this? I'm bigger than you are, Debbie. I don't know. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put the activity up on screen, and you guys can either screenshot it if you need it, or just know I'll send it out in the email with the recap, so you'll get an attachment. But they don't need to have it to do the activity, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it's really just hearing what it's about. So when Jamie does send it to you, the instructions talk about using one and practicing it. We've morphed into, you can use any of them because they really kind of intertwine. So there's about 120 qualities of love that we've identified, but we've chosen these 4 because they show up over and over and over again. So gratitude, patience, forgiveness, and compassion are the 4. People sometimes are like kindness, mercy, benevolence, and a whole other range. Any of them that come up for you that works for you is fine, because what we're doing is the negative self-talk comes from a place of fear, and we're shifting our thoughts into a place of love. So I'm going to talk about, so the 4, again, gratitude, but it's gratitude for yourself. We have a tendency to know how to be grateful for other people and other things, right? But how am I grateful for me? That's an interesting one. And I'll do a little exercise, if you will, before all of this, before we're done, so that you understand. It'll be something simple, so it'll make sense. Patience. How am I patient with myself, right? How do I allow myself to screw up, to not be perfect, to be a little less than I thought, but it's good enough, but it is not perfect, right? So how do I do that? Forgiveness of self. I'm going to be selfish today and go, I don't care if you forgive other people. I'm looking at how can you forgive yourself. Now, if you want to forgive other people, that's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to stop you. But for today, we're starting with ourselves. How do I forgive myself? And I'm not talking about things you didn't know. I'm just talking about from today forward. And we'll talk about that in the little exercise I'm going to talk about in a minute. Compassion. How can I be compassionate for me, to me, with me? What can I say that's going to change and shift things? So using these 4, I'm going to use a random concept of, say, keys by the front door. So let's just say, and maybe this is not you, but let's just say you're the type of person that runs around getting things ready and everything. And you're getting ready to leave the house. Oh my God, where are my keys? Right? I don't know where my keys are. Now I'm more late. Now I'm feeling terrible and my anxiety's off the roof because they told me don't come to work late anymore and I can't find my keys. Okay. So the talk, I'm so stupid. Why didn't I do that? Right? All this negative. If I decide, you know what? I have to do something, and I wouldn't use form a new habit, but basically I'm going to start putting the keys in a little bowl by the door. Yeah, that's a great idea. That way when I walk out, there they are. When I come home, there they are. So I put a bowl there and I go out and I come back and I got 50 million things on my mind. and I don't think about it. And the next morning I go to leave thinking, oh, but the keys are there, and the keys are not there. This is where I can practice patience and compassion. I can say something to myself like, either I can go, oh, you're so stupid, I can't believe you didn't do it, or I quit, or whatever words, or you can say, I'm trying to figure out a new thing. This is very new to me. I've had many decades of doing it this other way, and I'm going to try to do something new. I need to give myself a little break. So you give yourself a break, and the next day, same thing. You think you're going to get those keys, and dang it, they're not there. So maybe you're going to have a little compassion for yourself. Okay, it takes a minute to form this new thing, and it's okay. I'm going to handle it. I trust myself. I know I'm going to do better tomorrow. You go there tomorrow, it's not there. Here's where you can forgive yourself. Like, oh, all right, I'm going to forgive myself for really doing this bad, but I'm also going to recommit, and I know I'm going to do it because I can do this, right? I can create a new habit as long as that's what I really want to do. And I really want to do this. And then the next day, the keys are there. Cha-ching, you got it. The next day, keys are there. Cha-ching, you got it. A few days go by, maybe not, maybe a day or random, it's not there. You can forgive yourself again. Okay, new habit. I missed a day. I'm going to go back, commit again. And then when you really got it, you could be grateful to yourself. Like, wow, I did. I kicked butt because I didn't give up on myself, because I didn't stop. And I didn't let those thoughts that normally would have shut me down and made me feel bad, I didn't let them get in the way. And I loved myself. I gave myself encouragement. I gave myself forgiveness. I gave myself compassion and gratitude. Okay, that's it for what this is, Jamie. And at the bottom, the questions are, if you are working on changing a habit, whether it's at work or whether it's at home, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's us being with ourselves, either in a personal way or in a professional way. And it comes in increments. It doesn't happen like this. And as long as we know that, then it's okay to kind of screw it up because we're learning something new. A lot of us think we should be able to just do the new thing because we're proficient as adults. But if you today started a new language, started a new instrument, a new art style, it takes a minute for it to sink in. And that's all the neuroplasticity happening in your brain. So if you have questions about what's going on with yourself, at the very bottom, it said self-love reflections. I don't know if I can't really, I can see it on yours.
Yep, they can see it.
Yeah. And you can see it says, what happened as I saw it? Is it true? Am I really stupid because I couldn't put my keys there? I mean, good Lord, I'm trying to break a, 5 decade, whatever year-old habit, right? What is my body talk? And importantly, what's my body language? Am I holding my jaw tight? Am I wrinkled in my forehead, my jaw, my fists? Like, am I breathing shallow because I'm anxious? Noticing those things can also help say, oh, I'm doing that thing again, and help us to calm down. Because now we know if we talk bad about ourselves, things get worse. But if we can hear ourselves, love ourselves through the 4 gratitude, patience, forgiveness, and compassion in time, and literally like give yourself a few months, you will hear less rude, ugly talk and much more self-love talk. Okay. You there, Jamie?
I'm sorry, I'm talking and I'm like, I'm not even live. I feel very much like I needed this. I needed this lesson a month ago when I got my crochet kit, and I'm trying to reteach myself crochet.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like when you were talking about the keys, like some of the examples you used were like, yeah, I said that to myself. Yeah.
I used to teach painting, but it was the kind of sip your wine and paint. And I would say, like, take your big square brush and put the blue right here. And people would, and I go, like, and take the other brush and kind of make a little whoosh. And people would freak out, like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, I know, but give yourself a minute, because you're learning a whole new, like, way. You don't even hold a brush the way you hold an ink pen. So it's like this whole thing. But as adults, we have this weird sense like, over-accomplished in so many things that we should be able to, don't shit on yourself.
Don't shit on yourself. Okay, I know you've got homework for everybody in terms of doing this activity. So we're going to come back to that. I'm going to make y'all wait for the call to action here. But in the meantime, you've got a master class that people can sign up for, right? Which is, well, I'll let you talk about it because you're going to do a much better job than I am. But I love the name of it.
The name of it is, Why Does It Hurt So Much? And this is talking about our emotions where we do something and we don't understand why we do it, and there's so much pain involved. Maybe we have a boss that doesn't appreciate us. Maybe there's a partner that says something a particular way and it's just heart-wrenching. It might be something to do with child acts a particular way, like why don't they listen to me, right? So why does it hurt so much? There's a very particular reason why. The video, and it's the link to it is whydoesithurtsomuch.com, whydoesithurtsomuch.com. And it talks about where the pain came from, why is it there, what do you do with it, and how do you move beyond it? It's free, and so just go to
It's up above. The link's up above. They don't even have to remember it. They just click on the link up above.
I'm sorry. I wasn't even looking there because I was looking in the camera. But thank you.
Yeah.
So go click the link and watch the video, and there is a download with that as well.
And it's free. It's free to watch.
It is. It is free to watch. That's right. And it helps us understand where all that pain came from.
That's exactly right. I love it. And so in addition, other links up above, including that one, are just Debbie's email address and her website if you want to know more, connect with her, learn more. So for those of you that are on, that are in the Go Live League membership, don't forget, you get a VIP session with Debbie right after this. So as soon as we wrap it up here, we're going to jump over into Zoom. So Debbie, tell us what we're going to do with the VIPs in Zoom.
Well, we have a worksheet that will continue with where we are with the 4 qualities of love. And we're going to just do an activity over there about, how you're responding to it and what we're going to do with it.
I can't wait. She told me, you guys, she told me about this exercise earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be awesome. So, I've got to, I want to brag on you, Debbie. There's a couple of really great things in comments here. So one is great steps. I agree. Those 4 things are super, super powerful. So that's awesome. And then love this, just a life-changing class. Why does it hurt so much? I mean, if you can master that, right? What a transformation that can make, for anybody. I absolutely love it. So, okay. A couple of quick reminders for me, and then Debbie's going to give you your homework and then we'll wrap us up. So for, next Beyond the Camera, I added an extra one. So we actually are going to have one next week, which is not normal. Normally we go every other week. But next week, Chanello is going to be on with us, which is this wonderful woman who I met. She's from the UK. And she is all about entrepreneur mom guilt. And I'm like, but I'm not a mom, or a mum, as they say in the UK. And she's like, but you're a dog mom and you experience the same kind of guilt. And so she's going to tell us, how do we ditch that entrepreneur mom guilt? And then the week after that, we're going to get into content. And Stephanie Thompson, who we've talked about, Debbie and I both talked about today, is going to be on to talk about social media. Going to be a good one. We actually have 2 social media people in the month of March. And then we're also going to have Tammy Schrin on, and she's going to talk about publishing. So it's going to be a really cool month of content related speakers. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So let's see here. What else is I going to cover? Oh, also for those of you that have been eagerly anticipating and waiting for the Manage My Nerves Masterclass, it is now ready and available. That link is up above. I also did a video in your Facebook group so that you can learn a little bit more about it. It is also a free masterclass that you can take. And it would really be a nice compliment with what Debbie's doing, because you've got, on one hand, you've got how do you learn to love yourself and why does it hurt, and dealing with some of those emotions, which oftentimes can get in the way of wanting to be on camera, and managing that mindset is a part of that. So what a combination to do both of them in the same month, huh, Debbie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so homework for today. So if they want to continue with this activity of the 4 ways to show self-love, how can they apply this? What should they do?
Well, notice the behaviors, notice patterns, notice habits, and how you sound when something doesn't go the way that you would like for it to go. Anytime you have that upsetting emotional, whether it's towards another person or towards yourself, it's like, you know when you have a negative energy or an energy that you're not interested in, an upset one. And so in those moments to go, what was going on with me? What was I feeling, thinking? And then use one of the 4 qualities of love to shift out of the negative talk and say, I don't want to talk to myself that way. What would be a more loving way? And if you don't know how a more loving way is for you, think about how you would tell it to a good friend. And that's how you begin to speak to yourself in that same way.
So you would say practice just doing 1. So you don't have to do all 4 every time, but the minute you catch yourself, pick 1.
The minute you catch yourself, just pick whatever works for you. You may say, I want to do forgiveness. I want to oh my gosh, I should forgive myself for this. And I should be grateful that I remembered to forgive myself, right?
Okay.
So you can use them interchangeably. We picked 4 because those are really the ones that come up a lot. But anything that works for you so that you are loving, sending yourself loving thoughts versus the nasty, ugly tone. It's like now that you know you can do it differently, you have a choice. And you can say, replace or diffuse, like I like to say, diffuse those, the negative and enhance the positive.
Oh, I love that. And what a perfect way to end this show. You choose to be different in the way that you talk to yourself. And like you said earlier, the first choice is recognizing it. And now we now have we now all know what the next step is to replace it with one of those behaviors. So Debbie, thank you for being on the show today. Yep. I have loved it. For those of you that are in the Go Live League, we'll see you in Zoom in just a minute or 2. And for everybody else, happy Friday. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.